Okay, Paul. Well, here we go. Here are the countries that have already cut fuel taxes.
Got it.
Answering on the problems associated with the Iran war: Brazil, South Africa, Ireland, Spain, Italy, United Kingdom, European Union, Vietnam, South Korea, Japan. All of those have already taken measure to rebate in the form of not even rebate. They've slashed taxes on the gas.
Yeah, so when you go to the pump, you pay less because all the tax is gone.
Yeah.
And, that was the Pierre Poilievre comment at the end of the week where he said, I have a plan to cut 45 cents a liter from your gas by reducing the tax. But, Mike, I wanted to kind of jump in before we get there, which is a very interesting, I've been following this, as you know, talking about oil and Canada's relationship with oil since the 50s. And, I had Don Gilmore on the show, and he walked us through kind of...
What a great episode.
It was a great episode. And if anyone gets a chance, watch it, because he goes through kind of 1973, the Yom Kippur War, and the embargo that happened from Saudi Arabia on oil, and how the world was impacted just like now. So, and then basically in the 80s, after getting through that, we started Petro-Canada.
Yeah.
And we actually did really well.
Yeah, Petro-Canada was a major accomplishment of our country.
Right. Before Norway even jumped into it, and now Norway jumped into it at the same time. And Norway, through its oil and other production of energy, has become a powerhouse in the world, not only from their heritage fund that they've amassed over $1 trillion as a reserve in the country for rainy days such as this, but they've went on to do amazing projects around the world. So Petro-Canada was there. But I'm going to step back because my background is a CPA. So I was a CPA years ago. They called them CAs, but that's how old I am, before they amalgamated all the accountants. And, I worked for one of the big three firms, which was a very interesting scenario. So in my career, I was lucky enough to do something which was a new product being offered, which is called risk assessment. Mm-hmm. Right. So we used to bring people, and this was before, technology had hit its, apex like it has now. We used to come into a room. We used to hardwire a bunch of computers together, HPs. We used to sit all these executives from major corporations around a table, and we used to ask them 100 questions about the risk of their products, services, and their company.
Okay.
Right. It was a very interesting.
Yeah, it seemed like a legitimate way to assess a company for investment or lending. Or
it was a great product, quite frankly. We sold it to a lot of firms, and I did a couple of the sessions. So we used to get together and we used to ask these questions. What materials will impact your business the most if they go away? What labor impacts will occur if you had a strike?
Right.
So we used to ask all these questions, and people, the executives from the firms, the C-suite, used to get together and they used to rank what they thought their biggest risks were. Now, Strait of Hormuz, I'm going to jump forward a little bit. Canada, North America, the U.S., everyone, we have oil reserves. So, yeah, we should have spotted this as a weak point. If I'm in China, quite frankly, I had to think this was a huge weak point. And if I'm in all the other countries that a lot of them you just mentioned, that are now cutting prices and rationing and doing such, you had to think that somewhere around the government tables, their ministers of energy were coming back to their cabinets and saying, hey, I think we might have a problem here.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think this might be an issue. So now I'm sitting there on the weekend. I'm watching, over Easter, I'm watching all these dots on the screen as they're showing the traffic in the strait.
If you've had a chance to look at that, you'll know what we mean. If not, you'll want to take a look at one of the traffic maps that show the tankers through the area, through the Strait of Hormuz, but also throughout the Persian Gulf. It's outstanding to watch this thing. But right now, there's a cluster of dots, of course, at one end of the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, and they show these dots kind of slowly moving on the screen. Here's how crazy this is, Mike. The strait at its narrowest point is 20 kilometers wide, nautical, right?
That's very small with these tankers.
Right.
Not only that, but what's the depth? I think only a portion of that has the depth that many of these tankers require.
So roughly 2 miles, or are 80 meters or more deep, because the tankers are so big, they got to be deep. So they only dredged really 2 miles worth of lanes for these ships to pass.
So what you're saying is the whole world's bottleneck on oil is roughly held up by 20 kilometers of strait that are impassable unless you're authorized to go, unless there's traffic being let through.
So think about it, right? This is literally like a marathon wide for like runners, roughly.
Yeah.
And probably, someone could run from one side to the other in a couple hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how much of the world's oil? 30-40% of the world's oil, and sometimes depending on the market, even higher.
Yeah, they say 20 they're using 20%. But think about this. How would anyone in their right mind from any country who's pricing for its key resource not identify this as a risk and figure out a contingency plan?
Question,
and how did any of these EU states, these Saudi states, how did they not figure out they should run another pipeline? Like at some point you think, okay, I'm investing in these high-tech companies in the US. I'm making all this money. Oh, I might have a risk here. If something breaks out, I should build a protected pipeline somewhere to make sure.
Now, one country did it.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia did it, and under much protest from their own people, they built a what could be a very vibrant savior for them, in the sense that they can actually bring and ship oil still.
Right.
However, those routes are not, or if you're American, routes are not laid out yet as shipping lanes. So they will still have to arrange for new shipping lanes to new ports So it's not an instant fix. But you're right. How the hell did we ever end up in a position where somebody thought, oh my goodness, okay, we've got basically 25 kilometers of strait that bends all over the place, full of rocks. We're dredging it. 20% of the world's oil at the very minimum is going through it. Should we not start to come up with a backup plan? Not to mention that the state that is running the Strait of Hormuz is not really a stable state on the global economy. They don't really give a great amount of confidence that there's safety in that region already. Yet all of our oil, 20% of all of that oil goes through that same pathway. Which
doesn't come to us as Canadians, but impacts the price of our gas. Yeah. So 50,000 vessels go through the strait annually, roughly.
Wow.
So the traffic, when you see all those dots moving, right? 365 days, 50,000 vessels. These are massive vessels. So we're going to put on the screen.
Yeah, take a look at some of these images.
One of the reasons, and this is kind of interesting, and I think this has been strategic in this conflict war, that they've not shown us this, quite frankly, because they don't want us to criticize how dumb this is. Because when you look at it, you see these massive tankers moving through this strait, really going one by one through this 2 mile path, and these really crude markers to keep them off the rocks and the shallow lines. And then you see what'd you call the renegade ships?
Yeah,
that
the
go
pirate
along,
ships.
The pirate ships that run in the shallow water, and they're going up beside them, outside of the markers.
That's right. They'll take the outside lane and make their way with. And it's a risk. It's a huge risk. But if they make it, then it's a big payday for the countries they're delivering to.
Yeah. Now, my father used to say, he said, shake your head when I did something stupid. So I'm saying to these guys, whoever let this go on should shake their head at this point. And this is really dumb. Like whoever didn't predict this as a risk, quite frankly. And why? So now jump to Canada for a minute. Why we're thinking that our gas should be impacted by such a dumb decision to become reliant on this strait I have no idea. I have no
it's
idea why someone didn't say, why does Western Texas sweet crude oil pricing impacted by why? I still can't get a good answer. And they say, well, global, what's because you can sell it somewhere. So you've had a relationship with Canada for all these years, for 50, some odd 60 years. And now because something's happened in this kind of really odd strait that quite frankly should have never been relied on, you're now going to change the pricing to me? Oh, that's not a good partnership.
Not even the pricing, the whole pricing schematic change.
Yeah,
Within hours of this. But you raise a good point. We base on West Texas sweet crude.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with the Middle East, has nothing to do with pricing in North America, yet we seem to be beholden to it. And now our reaction here on the ground in Canada, not like that in other countries where we're slashing taxes. So here's what Carney's doing instead. He's increasing oil production.
What oil production?
What?
I guess, well, in the lines we have, in the pipelines we have, I guess we're going to ask them to increase.
Okay.
I guess.
And then we'll do what with that crude?
Ship it to the U.S.
And then we'll do what once it's in the U.S.?
Nothing. The pricing is still the same because it's based on the West Texas sweet crude index.
I'm not a CA. But maybe I'm wrong. But if you send more fuel down there to be priced at a higher level than it should be, we're going to pay more for it up here, not less.
Oh, to ship somewhere else. Honestly, that'll be the threat. If you don't want to pay what I can get in the open market, I'll ship it. I'll put it on a tanker here and I'll ship it to another country. So, it'll make its way over to Europe somewhere.
Right now, he's saying no tax cuts, but he will consider doing rebates on things like groceries and fuel. Now, let me just touch on groceries for a second.
Jeez.
If you're sending me a rebate on groceries now because of fuel and not before because of the greed of the grocery magnates, I don't know what to say to you. What are you doing? I think there's a double rebate associated with this maybe because we weren't doing it before. Why would you make it look like we're making groceries more available to Canadians because we're offsetting the price of gas? We needed that before this happened.
Well, and this is always the one where if you make below this income, you're going to get a rebate of X.
That's right. I'm getting the rebate and you're not. So the rebate warning is that they won't fix the problem anyway. So he's even saying, I'm going to consider rebates, but it's not going to fix our problem long term. So even the Prime Minister's office is recognizing that no matter what we do at this moment, cutting taxes, doing rebate, none of it is going to be good for the country because we have to either print that money, allocate it from the budget from someplace else and cut it, or we have to do something about pricing our own oil, which is an impossibility because it's priced through our neighbors south of the border. We're kind of in a position where many countries are not right now if we did need help. Oh, one last thing. We've written legislation you might have heard of that is based on carbon.
Right. Yeah, the main reason why we're not doing it. The main reason, it's a liberal policy.
We can't go back on the policy that says we'll reduce the price of tax on gas because it will increase the use of carbon-based fuels.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say to that, Paul.
Well, I don't know what to say either. But quite frankly, the opposition, the official opposition, Pierre, comes in and he says, you know what? My idea is to cut it by 45 cents to follow the other nations and reduce the gas tax. Fine. Where's the money going to come from? Right. So that's fine. I understand that.
No, that blows an enormous hole right in the heart of our nation.
Well, so then I said, okay, so 45 cents a liter. It's interesting, then this is political spin. That sounds, 45 cents a liter. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. That'll take, I think I filled up on the weekend. I filled my truck up. It was empty. It was $200 to fill my truck up.
Oh my God.
So I filled my truck up. So that'll take my fill of my truck back to like $150. So save me $50. Oh yeah, that's great, right? But what he doesn't tell you, that's going to leave a hole. Guess what the hole's going to be? $10 billion. So I went back and I took a look.
my
and
God.
I said, okay, let's dig through. So federally, gas tax equates to about $5 billion annually. Provincially, in Ontario, it's $2.4 billion. Quebec is $1.8 billion. BC is $1.2 billion. Alberta is about $0.9 billion. And all the other provinces and territories is $1 billion. So roughly $10 billion. So you got to find $10 billion. Now, we went through the budget show, Mike. Where are you going to find $10 billion?
Ukraine.
Yeah, I guess.
Sorry.
Yeah, I guess you could stop. Well,
There's half of it right there. Yeah.
That's true. You know, we just did housing. We just gave $8.8 billion to housing. So, but yeah, I guess you could. But then, you know,
But you're right. To your point, there is no allocation for. This is something that I think that we need to think about also from a risk analysis. I love the risk analysis idea. We need to do more of this.
yeah, we should do one as a nation and give it to them.
Why don't we? We'll
I
present one.
Yeah.
But what occurs to me is that the risk analysis has not included we might have a rainy day. We might have a problem politically in the world. We don't have any means of fortifying ourselves because we don't have any production, because we don't manufacture, because we don't have an export product that makes a huge amount of money, because we don't tap our resources.
Because we sold Petro-Canada?
Yeah, there's $1 trillion potentially right there.
Yeah, because
Now,
we sold a company that actually drilled and refined our major resource.
yeah, and made it possible for us to have gas at an incredible price and still make money. No, we don't do that anymore.
No.
So in light of that, we don't have the rainy day fund that a Norway has. Imagine we had $1 trillion right now, spending power in the world.
We could give a rebate. We wouldn't have a deficit. We'd have a surplus.
Right.
And quite frankly, we wouldn't be stalling we're not doing our budgeting now till the fall again. We wouldn't be deferring our budgeting process, trying to wait to see what the U.S. was going to do and what everyone else was going to do. We'd be taking some money out of that reserve fund, using that to offset the $10 billion loss and give us a couple years to carry on. And, quite frankly, I think that company, Equinor, on previous shows was doing about 20 to 30 billion a year in net income. So quite frankly, we wouldn't even have to dig into the reserves, Mike. We could actually live off the money that company makes to pay off and reduce our gas, which probably, to tell you the truth, we probably never would have had gas tax.
I was going to say
we would have never
the
had gas tax because we would have started the company to produce our own gas, to reduce it. But these are just policy decisions we keep making when it comes to oil that are horrifically bad, that politicians based on 4-year terms make for votes. I'm sure Mulrooney thought, oh, this is great. We got to get rid of it. Petro-Canada is a bloated, fat agency, and I can sell it off and use that to reduce a bunch of money at the time so I can make another term. I'm sure that's what they thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good long-term decision? Absolutely not.
I think they
right?
thought it was going to affect the commodities market and in our favor and drive the price and value of the company up at the time, and it didn't. It just made it look like we were abandoning the world and leaving all these projects behind. So this is interesting. I think we need to be aware of something at this moment. This is a good time for Mark Carney to bury other problems underneath Iran. Taxation is a big one. Food supply is another one. Food cost is another one. It's going to be real easy for our government right now to blame what's happening in our country on other things.
Sure.
I want to remind us, we were here before. It's just going to get worse now.
Yeah, of course.
And he can't hide behind the war. He can't hide behind COVID this time. We need to be aware of what the government is doing at all times through this, because otherwise we're going to hear that it was caused by outside problems, and we will never address the inside issues.
Sure, it was the tariffs, and now it's gas prices based on Iran. And what's next? We just keep going.
There will be something next.
There will be something next, but reducing the gas tax, it's an option, but it's not a long-term option. It's a short-term. We can't fill that hole. We can't move forward with that happening. So the answer is, what do we do now? And with respect to gas, we need to go back and need to look at a model where we refine for our own nation. We need to get back into the oil business. I've said this on previous shows, and I know people are like, oh, I can't believe we're going to do that again. What has government ever done efficiently? Well, I tell you what, government did a lot really efficiently back then. They did a tremendous amount of things. They built a company that was actually world-renowned, that was out there doing other projects in other nations on the oil and gas side.
It lit up the North Sea.
Yeah.
Or we wouldn't even be there looking for gas.
But now we've sold it off. We're totally dependent on Canadian and U.S. firms to come in and take our oil and use it for whatever they want to use it. We're dependent on the pricing models that aren't even in our own country when the natural resource comes from here.
Yeah, I don't know. We're stuck in the Strait of Hormuz for some reason, but the truth is we're stuck in our own mud right here.
Exactly. The Strait of Hormuz is, honestly, I call squirrel.
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, that's what we're doing. We're looking over there. We're not addressing the issue we have. We should sit down and talk about it. And that's something, quite frankly, CUSMA's coming up. I know we don't talk about it. And I know because of Alberta and their rumblings and everything going on down there, we don't want to talk about this issue. We have to talk about this issue. We have to get into this issue. We got to delayer it. We got to find out why. We got to figure out, how to make Alberta happier so they can find their way. But quite frankly, we also have to go back to Alberta and we have to say, listen, I know you have a bunch of U.S. companies, a bunch of U.S. influences there. We need to sit down and talk to them about what our trading relationship is going forward that ties to the big ball of wax. Because now, with Iran potentially tomorrow, we talked about on another show, going away and the U.S. having to retreat if they don't go forward with what they're saying, we are a bigger trading partner now. We're more essential to the success of the United States.
We need to open up our market. We need to be prepared to open up our market. I don't know where the money comes from to build that infrastructure, but if we don't do it this time, if we don't do it now, when the hell are we going to do it?
Well, and we can't keep slipping. One of the things that we could have done right now, which if we were in the right situation, if we would have kept Petro-Canada, we would have been a unique opportunity to reduce our production costs. So when the rest of the world was going up in gas prices and increasing the prices of their goods and services, we could have went the other way and got a competitive advantage, which then would have helped us in our lagging productivity. Listen, it's no lie. We are 30 to 40% less efficient productivity-wise. We are less productive than Americans by a long. We are slipping out of the developed nations when it comes to output per labor or per hour with respect to productivity. I think we're number 32 out of 32 right now, and we're estimated to fall out of the developed nations by 2030.
Yeah.
So, would have been a great opportunity now to take advantage of this opportunity. You're only going to get something like this so many times in a lifetime. We could have leapt ahead and figured out a way to at least become more productive and get goods into marketplaces that we don't currently get them.
Don't rebate, rethink.
Exactly.
That's what we need, an entire retool.
Exactly. Yeah. Go back to each of your markets, figure out a way. Don't give the rebate to the people. I know people are going to boo, but you know what? Those are short-term solutions. Find a way to give the rebates to the industries that need them to get more productive and reduce their costs to get to market. And then you have a strategy. That's where we should be. But I don't think we're there. The problem is, we have this conversation. The 45 cents comes up. He discounts it. The other one says just cut tax. No one goes away and puts a strategy together. And that's why in the next few days, with whatever happens in the world, whatever happens with oil, is going to cause a real big rethink on this.
I really think we should have Mark Carney come in and explain this to us.
I'd love to.
Prime Minister Carney? Thanks, Paul.
Thanks.
Patriotic means looking out for each other and fixing things together.
True patriotism is being in the country you love, surrounded by people you love, and great weather.
Being a patriot is being a part of your community and caring for it.
It doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. Patriotism is the one thing we all share.
It's okay to be critical of government, and still be a patriot?
It's gratitude to your country.
Of course I'm a patriot. I'm Canadian. It's my home.
Well, actually, true patriot love is the mission.